Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So in this week's video, I'm going to share with you how I made this really easy and cute and budget-friendly bench. You may have heard me saying that we're redoing a few rooms in our house, and one of those rooms is our office. Now, I feel like I've redone this office quite a few times, so let me just give you a sneak peek of how that conversation usually goes.
Office.
What? You're gonna do the office again? What is this, like the 8th time?
Alright, now that you've seen a little bit of behind the scenes, let's get started on this build. First, we're gonna start by cutting down our 2x4s. We're gonna have 4 at 16 inches, 4 at 13 inches, and 2 at 22 inches. Then I'm going to use my Kreg Jig to drill pocket holes into one side of the 13-inch boards only. I set both the hole depth and the drill collar to 1.5 inches, which is the width of my material. Once that is all set, I add the bit to my drill. And I'll leave a link in the description box below to the Kreg Jig that I'm using. Because I have so many boards cut, I want to make sure I add pocket holes to the correct boards on the correct side. So I take a pencil and I make a mark on each board that should have pocket holes. Now we can start drilling our pocket holes. I love this tool and I highly recommend adding it to your tool arsenal. And I'm not even being paid to say that. After all the holes are drilled, I sand all the pieces with 80 grit sandpaper. After everything is sanded, I took one of the 16-inch boards and added a 13-inch board to the inside top, pocket holes facing down. I add wood glue and use clamps to help hold the boards. I then take 2-inch screws and screw the boards together. I take another 13-inch board and add it to the bottom inside, pocket holes facing down, and use 2-inch screws to attach. Now we can add the next 16-inch board to the other side to complete a square. I like to use clamps when I'm working alone as they act as a second set of hands. I also use wood glue even though I'm using screws just for extra insurance, especially when I'm building furniture. It doesn't hurt to use it. This will be one leg to our bench. We will make 2 of these the same way. Now that those are complete, I'm going to take them back into the studio where I'm going to paint them with Krylon's indoor-outdoor flat black paint. I love this stuff. It's not too opaque and it still allows the wood grain to be seen. Once those are dry, I add each 22-inch board to the top of the legs using 2-inch screws. Not sure why I painted the legs before doing this, but I guess it doesn't matter. It all worked out in the end. Now I can paint the 22-inch pieces. Once everything is completely dry, I add a polyacrylic by Minwax and clear matte to the whole bench. I just do 1 coat. That's all that's needed. While that is drying, I take my foam and I measure my fabric. I want to make sure I have several extra inches on all sides of the fabric since we'll be wrapping it around 3 inches of foam and a 3/4 inch board. I cut my fabric to size and lay it face down, then add the foam on top, then add my 3/4 inch board. Now for this project, I just use a normal staple gun to attach the fabric and use a rubber mallet to hammer in the staples. I start by pulling the top centerpiece of the fabric over the foam and my board, and then I add a staple. I then move to the bottom center of the fabric and pull tight, then add a staple. I go to the left side, then the right side, and do the same thing, making sure to pull tight before stapling. Then I hammer in the staples. I hammer the staples even if it looks as though they have gone in all the way. You just don't want a loose staple and then have your fabric get loose. Now I move on to each corner, and I'll give you a close-up here. I start by taking the corner of the fabric and tightly pulling that over the corner of the foam and the board. I take the little tail, if you will, of the fabric on the left and start to tuck it over itself. It's kind of like wrapping a gift. I do the same thing on the right side while making sure I match up the lines in the fabric as best as I can. And I also make sure the line is pulling evenly with the other line and staple we added earlier. All right, once all the quarters are complete, we can add staples around the rest of the perimeter. I add staples right next to each other and make sure to pull tightly before adding the staple. I then go around and hammer in all the staples. Then I start cutting off the excess fabric. Make sure though to leave at least a ½ inch to about 1 inch of extra fabric so it doesn't fray and get away from the staples. Now that the base of the bench is dry, I flip it over and add it to the bottom of my seat. I drill pilot holes around the bottom, then attach the bench to the seat using 2-inch nails. And there you have it, a DIY bench. I love it in my office, but you can use it in an entryway or at a kitchen table. And what's cool about DIY is that you can adjust it to the size to fit your own needs. Alright guys, that's it for this week's video. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up and feel free to leave a comment below. If you like DIYs that range from anything to small or large, feel free to hit up our DIY Everyday playlist. And while you're watching some of those videos, I'll start working on next week's DIY. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye.